Hello, besties. It is me. It is Monty. I don't feel like I'm dying today. So that is a market improvement over yesterday. Besties, I'm going to show you this. I showed the patrons this because I told you guys that I was keeping track of my little Michael Connolly situation. And there are so many highlighted now. It feels surreal, to be honest with you. I never did I think I'd get here? Yes. At this point, I can't say no, but like, did I think I would get here this quickly? Maybe not. And at the beginning of November, it was kind of shoddy if I was actually going to get to it. It wasn't until like halfway through the month when I was updating my, uh, the little template I have in Photoshop for my wrap up. And it was like, oh, I have to like delete the images and like start over. That I was like, oh, I'm definitely doing this, besties. So I did finish the dark hours last night, and I feel a little bit bad that yesterday's video was like so low energy. It was so low energy, but it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had been at work since 10 in the morning. And I mean, I'd have a little break because I got off. Actually, I had much more of a break than I thought I was supposed to because I was scheduled at the restaurant until 4, and I'm supposed to be at the hotel at 4:30, and it's like a 5 minute maybe, depending on like which route I take and what stoplights I hit or don't hit or whatever, and like walking to the parking garage. So it's like, give or take 5-7 minutes. So the fact that I was out of the restaurant yesterday at like 3:30 was such a godsend because it meant that I got to like sit down at McDonald's for a little bit and have something to eat before I had to go punch in again. And so like that little hour at McDonald's saved me. It saved my life. And it wasn't even a full hour, to be honest with you. I think it was closer to like maybe 45 minutes, 30, just so I could know if I was gonna have parking at the hotel, if I was gonna park across the street. And as quiet as it's kept, besties, I definitely should have parked across the street yesterday and charged my car. It's not dying, but I don't know, like when it was low in the summertime, low in the springtime, I was like, oh, it's nothing. But now that it's like low in the, because I didn't, run the climate, but like now in the wintertime, it's like, oh, yeah, bitch, I'm running the climate. So I think what I'm gonna do tonight when I go to the restaurant is just park at one of the chargers and then walk down to the restaurant, not park at the parking garage. That is my plan. The plan today was to finish the dark hours while I made my breakfast burritos because I told you guys yesterday that today was my last day of breakfast burritos, and I didn't do that. I have finished the dark hours, and I finished it when I was at the store. I was at the store and I finished it. Um and it was a good time. It was a good time. Actually, I guess technically I finished it when I was pulling into the parking lot to come home. But I listened at the store, and then when I got home today, I didn't even bother making the burritos. I did make the filling. I'm gonna have to like reassess here in a second, or not in a second, before I leave for the night to go watch I guess technically there's men's basketball, college basketball is on tonight at the restaurant, and the Eagles game. So I'm gonna be watching some sports, and then when I get home, I think I need to do a load of laundry. I think my chef coats are dirty. I'm gonna need to wash those specifically, and my towels. My towels definitely need to get washed. So I might listen to more. I might actually start Desert Star and do those things. But let's actually talk about the dark hours. So yesterday's update was so low energy again because I've been working all day and I just was like out of it. Also, I guess it would have been smart. Maybe before I leave tonight, I'll make my coffee so I can get a new batch of cold brew going. Much to think about. Anyway, so it was so low energy that like I don't even know if I was like fully processing what was happening in the dark hours, but it was a bonkers narrative. It was a bonkers narrative. In the grand scheme of Michael Connolly stories, it was actually pretty tame. Like, this is the same man, again, who went on a whole Taken-style adventure in Hong Kong. This is the same man who had to he was racing around Los Angeles in search of medical-grade radioactive materials that helped people with, I think it was cervical cancer. I think that was what they were using it, or uterine cancer. Somewhat cervical cancer sounds unserious, Monty. Maybe it was they were doing it some kind of cancer research with it. Like all kinds of uh we're they were investigating this man for murdering this little girl, and then it was actually her daddy, and her daddy had her on some like weird dark web child ring. It was craziness. Like we had the whole human trafficking angle in that same book where he was going on the tech and style adventure in Hong Kong. Like there's some truly bonkers things that have happened in this. And so I think what the Dark Hours did really successfully is manage this transition from the Renee Ballard show, or because the Late Show was full Renee Ballard. Bosch, she didn't even know him. Then she runs into him in Dark Sacred Night, and they form this sort of like uneasy alliance, and they sort of mesh really well because they're two halves of the same coin. They're both too reckless for their own good. They're both the sort of person that has like this reckless pursuit of justice, and sometimes that aligns with like what the reader would want a person to do, but sometimes you also have to like they're chafing against the fact that they are an agent of the state, and the actions that they take as a state agent are wholly absolutely bonkers and crazy, and you would not want a state agent to do, or for a state agent to be like utilizing their powers in the way that they utilize them. And it makes you feel like a crazy person, but also at the same time, because like you could objectively, maybe subjectively, these people are doing actions that you might agree with and you might also do, but like you are not a state actor. And so sometimes the actions of these people are just like absolutely crazy, specifically in the context of them being law enforcement officers. And so it makes sense that they not only share the brain cell, but are very fond of that one particular cell that they do own. Then in the Night Fire, it was a fun time between the two of them. And so here in the Dark Hours, we are taking a step back and is closer to a sort of late show approach, but it has the added benefit of Bosch being in the periphery. So we're opening the story, and she's called in on this murder case. The ballistics is matched to one of Bosch's old cases, and that is the case of like it was this association of dentists, and they had a connection to this man. One of the dentists had a connection to this man, and they were like to the crooked cop essentially, who was also functioning as like the state, not the state, as the street banker, and he was like giving all of these people loans, but they were all loans owed back to this group of dentists who would then like go into business with some of these people, and then they would get like insurance policies on them, and then they would kill them and they would collect on the insurance, which is craziness that there was like this whole illicit organization going on in the background. And that was the plot line that Bosch was allegedly supposed to be super involved in. But because it's Renee Ballard, she's also bringing him into like an active LAPD investigation, which is like the more like, what are we doing here part of the storyline. At least in the Night Fire, you had a situation where he was still technically working with the San Fernando police people. And I think that's also why those books worked really well as a sort of a dual back and forth thing, because he allegedly had his own life going on. Whereas right now, I think life is sort of untethered for him. This is also the first book back after the Law of Innocence, and Bosch was in the Law of Innocence. I'm pretty confident he's in the Law of Innocence and Resurrection Walk. And so this is sort of like in a very muddy time. Also, like this book, The Dark Hours, is like set in the immediate aftermath of like the COVID pandemic. Like it is legitimately 2020. And at the very end of the book, I want to say one of the last chapters is like literally takes place on January 6th, and Renee Ballard is like watching the insurrection happen. And I was like, I've not read a lot of contemporary fiction where this was a contemporaneous act that the character saw. Like, it is canon in the Bosch universe that Hieronymus Bosch was in Vietnam and that January 6th happened. One man. um like I think like that's what we like. I think that's like what I'm stressing so hard. Like in this book, this man was in fucking he was in Vietnam. And in Resurrection Walk, this same man is sprinting through the streets of Los Angeles. Crazy work. Crazy work. Anyway, that aside, that's that storyline. Then I told you guys that there was this situation where there was like the serial rapists. And I have often compared this to The Closers. And this didn't exactly happen the same way on The Closer on TNT with my girl, Kira Sedgwick, wife of Kevin Bacon. But in that, somewhere in there, I want to say it's an early season. I want to say it might even be season 1. But there was a situation where this man got broken up with, and he did not like that he got broken up with. And so he went onto a Craigslist like service, and he posted that as his ex-girlfriend that she wanted someone to break into her home and ravish her. Like, this was her pre-consenting to whatever this person who was going to break into her home did. Craziness. Except one person did that and then murdered her. Yeah. Yeah, you hate to see it. And so, or the person that did it was a child. I remember now. I say a child. They could have been like a college freshman, but the person looked like a fucking child. And so the person that did it was a child, and she got like, she was freaking out. And so he was like, "Oh my goodness, what is happening? Like, I thought you, like, you said to come here." And so then he killed her. And they were like, "Well, it is kind of hard to prosecute him, like the person who actually did it, like the person who did the killing, because they thought that they had consent to be there and to do those things." To me, I was like, you very clearly didn't, though. Like, once you actually got there and you did the killing, but then they did arrest her ex-boyfriend. And so I say all of that to say that a very similar thing is happening here, except because it's Michael Connelly, it's on the dark web, it's not on fucking Craigslist. Also, I guess, to be fair to Michael Connelly, this is happening in 2020s America, and I'm pretty sure the personal section of Craigslist has been long gone at the time of this, and they didn't just invent like a new thing. So he's like, dark web. Anything can happen on the dark web. And so what was happening with the serial rapist case that we had been investigating in the sidelines were the ex-boyfriends of all of the victims had like found out through various ways. You know, we only see one of them relay his experience finding this, but they all allegedly would have found this webpage on the dark web. They would have been brought there. Maybe they were posting on like an "Am I the Asshole" type situation on Reddit, or venting about it in some public web space, and then they got channeled and funneled into the dark web saying, "Hey, here you go." And it was like essentially for hire. Like, these two men had this whole web page, and they would film their acts with these women, and they would be like, "If you want us to do this to your ex-girlfriend, we can do it to them," which is crazy work. And as we were getting this revelation, I was like, "Oh, I should have put this together sooner," because the breadcrumbs were there. Also, as Michael Connelly ages, I do think that there are more breadcrumbs that I'm picking up on. And I've said this before, I know, like, maybe it's just I've read enough of his things, just like, oh, I know what the breadcrumbs to look for now. But I just think that the breadcrumbs are just really good, solid storytelling. Like, I think anybody could pick these up. And anybody could have assumed that, oh, these men were for hire. Like, to be fair, by the time that I was picking it up, the hints were fucking obvious. Okay, like, the hints were obvious. Ballard was putting things together before I would have ever even done. And then when she was like, and then these super obvious hints were in my face, and I was like, you know what? Those were the super obvious hints. Thank you, because I also was on the same wavelength. And so at the end of the day, we get. Those rapists are murdered. They're murdered. Also, Ballard quits. So she quits because there's a lot of things that are happening here. A lot of the things and the steps on her investigation, she 100% should be fucking drummed out of the police academy. Like, she'd be, I don't know why I'm saying academy. She's a full-on detective. But she should 100% be drummed out of the force. She should not have a badge. She should not have a gun. She should not have anything. She should be a private person working with Harry, because she and Hieronymus are often like, oh yeah, we're going to like team up. We're going to become the dynamic duo. We're going to be LA's Batman and Robin, and we're going to solve crimes in the city. And so she decides that she's going to quit. After she decides to quit, she links up this the city light person in LA contacts her, because she had already put together that before the rapist would assault somebody, they would go to the street, they would take out the street light in front of that person's house, and then they would assault them like in the following night or very soon after that light got dismantled. So she went to the light people and said, "Hey, if anything, you get a call, like a service call, let me know." Because even if she's a couple days late because somebody doesn't report the light, being out right away, she at least knows where to look for the next victim and like where the assailants are going to strike next. So she had done that. She gets together with the lady that she thinks is going to be the next target, and she's like, "I'm going to swap places with you. I'm going to go to your house. I'm going to pretend to be you, and you are going to go to a secret location with Harry Bosch. Bosch is going to look after you, make sure that nothing happens to you, and I'm going to go to your house because I think that's where the rapists are going to be." At that point, she had already quit. She was no longer somewhere between her doing that and the rapist breaking in. She had quit. She had sent off her little resignation email, and so then the assailants break in, and she's like, "Oh, I don't have my I don't have my fucking handcuffs. So she's like duct taping one of them. Then his partner breaks in because he got sent the code word that things were not good. Think something was up, something was not according to plan. Ultimately, both of them get shot dead. They are no longer in the world of the living, and so following this, there's a use of force investigation, and Ballard plays the trump card like, "Haha, bitch, I did not kill them on the on the clock as a cop because I'd actually quit hours and hours earlier. I had permission from the homeowner to be there. I was a private citizen, and those two men broke into the home that I was staying in, and they decided that they wanted to do what they were going to steal things. Like I thought they were the rapists. I killed them, and I had every right to kill them. I think it is absolutely crazy. And then after this, at some point, her lieutenant comes up and talks to her. And he's like, look, if I ever find that you put this all together just so you can murder them, I will personally see to it that you don't have a badge ever again in any lifetime. I mean, it's already unserious at this point. She has already, again, quit the force. She does not have a badge of which she speaks. And then she's like, I think they got off too easy. But I 100% believe that she did this to murder them because this is 100% out of the Bosch playbook. It just is. Like, do I think that she would have wishes, like she says to her lieutenant or her former lieutenant, that, yeah, I want them to be in prison for, X number of years? She probably did. But at the same time, like, this whole plan was so fucking crazy and you had no backup. There was nothing there. Like, it wasn't even like Harry was watching this, the homeowner nearby. He was God knows where doing God knows what, and he didn't even have his weapon because he'd given his weapon to Renee because Renee didn't have a weapon. So it's just like all this comes together, and it's like the only logical explanation for any of this happening is that you were going to kill it. Like you were going to kill these people. I just want her, and again, you are literally the apple falling from the Bosch tree, and the Bosch tree is a murderer. Like I don't know what to tell you. I truly don't know what to tell you here. But then at the end of the book, in the epilogue, the chief of police shows back up at her house and is like, I want you to come work for me again. I don't think that you should have quit, which is crazy work. And also the last time something like this happened, whether it was the Kisman writer of it all, when she was going to leave and she was going to be one of the good ones, she then came back and like betrayed Bosch in the most heinous way he's ever been betrayed. And this man's been betrayed a lot. Bosch also at one point quit and came back. Like quitting and coming back is par for the course for the people in Bosch's orbit. But as for like what it means for our girl Renee, I don't truly know what that means for her because she liked being a late night detective, and I don't know if she's gonna like transfer to Dayside. There was a moment in the story where she was going to get pushed to Dayside to like punish the person you're supposed to be working with on this rapist investigation, but this person was just like fucking off on vacation all week. And so she was like, I don't like being on Dayside is a punishment to me personally. And so I think she's going to go back to the night shift. But it's like, I just don't know what that's going to do for her. I don't know what that's going to do for me as the reader. But I am excited. I have 2 more Ballard and Bosch books. I have Desert Star and The Waiting. And The Waiting, as I've said many times already, is going to feature Maddie Bosch. And I'm excited for that, to see her getting her perspective on things. So I don't know what's going to happen in either of those 2 stories. I plan on starting Desert Star tonight after I finish this. It's probably what I'm going to listen to on my way to go watch the college basketball and NFL game tonight. And then I still have 1 book from the early era of Michael Connelly blood work to read. So by this time next week, we should be wrapped up in the Michael Connelly era. There's some things that I want to get to this month. I have a chapter sampler of the next Finley Donovan book, only because I didn't realize when I requested it that it was a fucking chapter sampler. I just thought it was the entirety of it, but I'll read those little 12 chapters at some point this month. That'll be exciting for Monty. Or will I don't know. Like, what? Part of me is like, what is the point of reading fucking 12 chapters? But I do want to read the next Finley Donovan book, and so I'm excited to see that one. So that'll probably be it. I have the Open Era, which is the tennis romance I'm excited to read. I might read that this month. I don't have anything super... I take it back. I have the Hannah Grace about the toy store owner, like the toy company owner who like sent his idea off to this toy manufacturer, and he's like, oh, you guys stole my idea. And now the daughter, who was like being pushed out of the company and is like trying to like fight for her spot back in the company, I believe, is like showing up at his house, and she has like no idea about any of this happening, and she's like, oh fuck. I think I'm gonna read that this month just because it's Hannah Grace. And even though I did not love Daydream, I'm just gonna hope that was like, to me, Wildfire is still like so good. The genius mind that you have to write a hockey romance series and put and set book 2 in the fucking summer and set it in a camp. Oh, Hannah Grace, you are an intelligent woman. You are an intelligent woman. So there will be some non-Michael Connelly content coming, probably sooner rather than later, given the exponential. And I guess I still have to read Suicide Run and the other short story collections. But in terms of like main novels, we should be wrapping up on the Michael Connelly era pretty soon here, besties. So I hope you guys had a good Monday, that your work week is off to a solid start. I will see you guys back here tomorrow with more thoughts, more opinions. But until then, and until next time, bye.